What's up, LA? This is Ryan Dyrud with the LA Football Podcast, and support for LAFB is brought to you by Manscaped, the best in men's below-the-waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision engineering tools for your family jewels. Guys, I know a lot of you skip past these ads or just ignore them, but this is one that will actually benefit you every single time you use this product. The worst thing you can do is get nicks, cuts, scrapes, gashes, anything to your southern region down below. It's painful. It's gross. You don't want it. So that's why Manscaped has redesigned the electric trimmer. The Manscaped engineering team spent 18 months, that's a year and a half, perfecting the greatest ball hair trimmer ever created and just released the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0. And even better, you get 20% off and free shipping with the code LAFB at manscaped.com. That's 20% off with free shipping at manscaped.com and use the code LAFB. I promise you, your balls will thank you.
Touchdown, UCLA!
With USC great and NFL stud, Frostee Rucker.
The Trojans back in front.
And LAFB founder Ryan Dyrud on the Believe Podcast Network and LAFBnetwork.com. This is your destination for Los Angeles football.
What's up, Los Angeles? Welcome into another edition of the Believe in LA Football Podcast. Big show for you today. Some huge news on a lot of fronts. We'll get all into that. Show is always brought to you by BetOnline.ag. Super Bowl's just around the corner. A lot of fun Super Bowl bets. You can always do some props and stuff like that. Coin tosses. Head to BetOnline.ag. Win some extra cash in this new year. My co-host, though, Frostee Rucker. What's up, man? How you doing?
Man, not too much. What a weekend of football. A lot of stories. A lot going on that's good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm here. I'm present. Let's get on to it.
Let's do it. Yeah, good show. So, as always, we are on the Believe Podcast Network, always on the LA Football Network, LAFBnetwork.com. Subscribe to the show wherever you listen to podcasts, where you listen. Watch us video platform, YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all at LAFB Network. All right, as alluded to, Rams unfortunately lost in the playoffs, and they lost another piece of their cog as their defensive coordinator, Brandon Staley, was hired by the Los Angeles Chargers. Stays home. So we'll get into that. Excited to talk with you about that, Frost. Also have a guest on the show, UCLA Defensive Lineman, Osa Odighizuwa joins me. Great kid. He's going to be at the Senior Bowl. So we have a fun conversation with that. Frost, I know you liked his tape, what he put out there. I think he's going to be a good player.
Yeah, absolutely. And from hearing how he's talking, and he's very confident in his game. And I think it should translate to the next level. You're always looking for big, fast, physical guys. I'm really excited to see how fast he actually runs, knowing only 10 yards of it really matters. But to see a big guy like that, how strong at the attack. His hands are very physical. He shoots through his defenders. He gets knock him back. He's a prototype 3-4 defensive tackle. And I'm very excited to see how he does at Senior Bowl.
Absolutely. Yeah. He'll be a fun one to watch in the drills and in the game. All week long. We'll keep close attention to that. And had a great season, final year, shortened season, and had his most production in his career, 30 tackles, 4 sacks, and just played 6 games. So for an interior guy, that's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, I just love the approach of some of these guys, just like him and Demetric Felton. They took advantage of those 6 games and that opportunity. It was like a playoff to them. It was condensed, but they were so focused and they executed their game plan. And going into a year like this where there was so much uncertainty, getting an opportunity to actually get on the field and ball out, which they both did, is huge. And shout out to him. I'm going to be glued to him. He's rocking number 92. I don't know he's going to be rocking in the league, but he rocked it at UCLA.
There you go.
Too. So cheers to him, and I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, absolutely. So he'll be a fun one to watch. So stay tuned for this interview. We'll get into that later on in the show. Really good kid, fun to talk to him. So But let's start with these games and teams that happened, Frost. Before we get into this, we'll briefly touch on the Rams game, just kind of what went wrong, why you were right in Green Bay, just outmatched him. Pretty close score prediction there as well. First, we're partnering with this new company. It's called Blink. It's going to be a lot of fun, especially with what's going on in the world right now. It can be useful. So tell me about it.
Yeah, Blink is great. It's an app that you can get your whole community involved. If it's your Instagram friends, your Facebook friends and family, everyone can get in and join. There's so many ways that you can game. It could be physically outside playing hoops, playing soccer. It could be on video games. You can go head to head on Madden and Call of Duty and Fortnite, all these different variations. And go to the Blink on Instagram, and that's BLINC. Blink up.
There you go. Yeah, it's good. And what's cool about it, that if you're playing these games, or a lot of people like talking smack, well, now you can actually win some money. So because it's tournament style, Blink handles all the money. So say you're playing guy you never met, but you guys, you game or you talk on Instagram or something. Well, now you can enter this tournament. You put a deposit in to enter a tournament through Blink, and then whoever wins gets the pot. They handle all the money. So it makes it really easy. So you're not just like betting some guy virtually. Hey, I'll bet you $25 in this game. Like, it's all handled that. So I know you have a Madden tournament on there, right?
Yeah, I've had a couple of different Madden tournaments, and I guess these people have really been duking it out on there and gone down to the wire, and some really good e-gamers out there. So again, go to Blink. It's a fantastic platform for these real true gamers. And I think the tournaments can go up to 32 people at once. Mm-hmm. You can either host the tournaments yourself, or you can play in them and win some money.
Yeah. So I'll post a link in the description here so people can go to that. I haven't done it yet, but I want to do a virtual horse tournament. So awesome. Everything's virtual. You can go to your front yard. You can go to your local park, not with a bunch of people, bring a video camera, and then you just go back and forth on like a Zoom call and play horse. And then it's a tournament. You can win some money. So it could be fun.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. So yeah, Blink, I'll post a description down below, but all right, Frost. So let's first just briefly touch on this Rams game against Packers. Just outmatched. I think it was huge that Aaron Donald was not fully healthy. You could tell he wasn't fully healthy. Really kind of hurt their game plan, but the defense, unfortunately, just was uncharacteristic, even despite him missing tackles, not having block assignments or gap assignments, What did you see that contributed to why they lost?
For one, AD not being full strength was a big key in this matchup. Him being on the field still warranted double teams and whatnot, but he just wasn't himself. He couldn't make just that play or free up someone to make a play. And that was very unfortunate. Hats off to him for being a tough son of a, for going out there and battling. And, he left it all out there. This clip right here was showing he's crying. And I've been there before. You put a lot of work into this craft. And again, this has been a season of the uncertainty and how long the season would last. And look, we're already on our way to a Super Bowl when some didn't even think the football season was going to happen. So the fact that he went out there, and busted his tail all year, got them in position on the defensive side of the ball, and just came up short. But overall, Ryan, I kind of knew it. I hate to, be the bearer of the bad news, but I knew they were going to be a little outmatched, knowing that Goff was injured also. A full strength Goff, I still doesn't think can match up with Aaron Rodgers in his Green Bay. At the end of the day, it was going to be an Aaron Rodgers offense versus slightly disadvantaged defense. And I knew offensively the Rams weren't going to be able to keep up. And especially if we're playing a volleyball type of game where it's trading touchdowns as for field goals. So Green Bay got him.
Yeah. Yeah. And no, I think everyone appreciates that you keep it real. I actually had a listener reach out to me and say, I love that Frost doesn't have affiliation to the Rams. So he doesn't just fan out. He keeps it real. So yeah, you were right in that. But, Matt LaFleur had a great game plan. Give credit to him. They ran the ball down the Rams' throat. They just, controlled the clock. They had long, sustaining drives, which then the Rams offense surprisingly didn't. I mean, they weren't, I think, the reason they lost. They countered decently, but they just sometimes almost countered too quickly. And then the defense, who had just been on an 8-minute long drive, goes right back out there, and the Packers just kept lulling them with the run game. And then A-Rod obviously hit the game clincher there at the end. So tough loss, but I think this Rams team exceeded expectations. I think what's the more bummer, obviously you want to go to the Super Bowl, but even a bigger bummer, which we'll get into throughout the offseason, is just looking at the cap situation, looking at these free agents. Unfortunately, that was probably the last game we're going to see some of these players in Rams uniforms, because they can't afford to bring them back. So I think that's what's really unfortunate too, is this felt like a really good window with this team, and this team's probably going to look very different next year.
Yeah, and this usually is what happens. You do have a short window to play football in general, but these teams have been put together. Certain guys get these big paydays, and that's when they get those paydays, they're basically throwing all in to get a championship out of it. And when you don't get that, everything starts to be evaluated. And like you alluded to, there's going to be a lot of people that aren't going to be on that Rams team anymore. And there's some really good players. Thank goodness they have drafted well, and they could recover some of them.
Mm-hmm.
And, there will be some free agency and stuff like that and some moves to be made. But the same people that you've been accustomed to that made these plays that become like family members in your home, they won't be there. So, if you want to see those guys again, watch Hard Knocks. Because other than that, everything changes, and here it goes. Here's the NFL offseason.
Yeah, it's going to be a wild one, and let's just get this out there. We can talk more about it too throughout, but Jared Goff will be the quarterback. I know there's tons of talk already about can they move him, trade him for this guy. He's not going anywhere. He'll be the quarterback, and I thought he played relatively well for what was going on with his thumb, and no turnovers again. So, I talked a little bit yesterday. If he can just get better pre-snap, dissecting things pre-snap and get the ball out of his hands quicker, he'll be okay, and he'll be a very fine quarterback in this league, like he showed 2 years ago when he helped lead into the Super Bowl. So
he's not a bad guy. He's not a bad talent.
Yeah.
He's not a bad football player. He's just still needs to develop. And that doesn't say anything. We all have work to do with our craft, and he just has to go to work on his craft this offseason and get intellectually better. And like you said, pre-snap things, decision making needs to happen, quicker feet, maybe get a track coach, and that goes the same with his head coach and OC. They have to pair more with his strengths as for his weaknesses. And it's going to be a very interesting offseason to see what they do and what they put around him to succeed. Big question marks up front. Who's going to be blocking for him?
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot to go into this, but we wish him luck. And again, we're rooting for the Rams in the long haul to win championships and bring another trophy to the great city of LA.
Yeah. There's no way to move on from it. I don't think they need to. I think they, reinforce what they do. They get a deep threat. They're going to have to get a deep threat, good receiver class again. So hopefully in the draft, they can do that. Cause like I said, they really can't sign anyone without making some crazy money moves. When you have almost 70 million tied up between just Goff and Darnold, it's going to be hard to sign any other players. So he's not going anywhere. We'll get to the Staley stuff which concerns both the Rams and the Chargers, obviously. But I had a random question for you, Frost. I'm curious your thoughts. It kind of, I don't want to say it irked me because you're happy for those teams and for especially teams like Buffalo, they got to do it. But is it odd to you that certain teams have been allowed to have fans? It was just weird to me that here we are in the playoffs on the biggest stage, and the Rams have to go to Green Bay where there's 10,000 fans and they can feed off that energy. And, if it was in LA, there'd be none and they wouldn't get that benefit, that advantage.
Yeah, Ryan, great question across the board. And no one's really focusing on this because whenever you're on the road, you got to pack your defense and your special teams because, like I always say, your offense is disadvantaged with crowd noise. This season was different. There was only certain pockets of teams that had fans, and that definitely played a factor in this game. The Rams were, on the road, quarterback and main defensive player were injured, fans, and it was cold. Yeah. So, they had a lot going on, but again, at the end of the day, there's no excuses, but I do feel for them because they got put in a situation that they had to fight themselves out of it.
Yeah. No excuses at all. Just, that was one thing. I think the NFL did a really good job throughout. I mean, here we are, we just talked about it, how we're about to be at the Super Bowl, no games canceled, not a single game. But I thought it should have been like an all or nothing for the fans. Like either all teams can have fans or no teams can have fans. Cause it rubbed me the wrong way that here this Rams team, hasn't had any fans all season long. And then they have to go travel on a road game and play the best team in the NFC. And all of a sudden there's 10,000 fans in the stand. And Aaron Rodgers even said after the game, oh yeah, we fed off the energy. Absolutely. It was great having these guys here. It was a huge bump for us. That's football. But when the other team can't have that, it's just kind of like, I think it needed to be all or nothing. But
yeah, you're right. That's governors and that's out of our pay grade, right? We can't do anything about that. But, again, let's sit here and champion that they did have a great season. They had a lot of adversity. And, I'm just excited to see the moves that happen because this Rams team, this roster, this coaching staff will not be the same.
Yeah, well, that's a good segue. So here we go. Brandon Staley announced last night by the Los Angeles Chargers as their next coach. I think it's a fantastic hire. I don't want to be that guy, but I'm gonna give myself a little pat in the back.
You're that guy. You called it. It was a great move. You gave us a list, but you were really, really, really detailed in why it made sense. And outside of him just performing the way he does and how he coaches, it just made sense to just you're on another team across the street. So
yeah, doesn't have to move. Stays home.
GM.
Couch GM, baby. I'll do whatever I do. I'll be couch whatever. Let's stick with the Rams though and talk about repercussions there. So, and then we'll go into the Chargers. So obviously, no more DC. We would assume he's going to bring some staff with him, but let's talk a little bit about potential replacements for him at DC, and we'll just keep it with the Rams. So talk to me first. Eric Henderson, our good friend, been on the show. I think he's definitely a name that's going to, if he doesn't go with Staley, will be considered. Talk a little bit about Henny, and then we can go a little bit more that I have thoughts on.
I hope Coach Henny, and I hope there's a lot of guys in the same position that get a chance to elevate. As you see in their head coaching searches the last couple of years, they've gotten unorthodox with how they recruited their head coaches and people coming from college and this, that, and the other. There's no telling why guys that are on staffs and even guys that have been lifelong staff members, different position coaching, stuff like that, shouldn't be elevated to that if they cross off all the, cross the T's and dot the I's on the interview. I hope Coach Henny gets in a position that he can get that raise, not just financially, but get the raise on a title. I think some of these guys are deserving. They know football. And I think if you want to stay within and keep your team sound, you go within the leaders on your staff already. There's a lot of guys that are put in position. Maybe he won't do the same thing as Ryan did on the defensive side of the ball that are familiar with. But if a coach that they hire from within can keep the same concepts, it makes a lot of the surrounding players better and they play faster. Knowing that some of these certain plays are going to be on there, maybe Henny would have called a different blitz at a time. And you never know, or any coach for that matter. But I think right now you have a team that has some really good football players on it. You don't know who's going to be missing, but you want to keep a glue of it. You don't want to just break off pieces and bring something new and start a whole new vibe.
Totally, yeah. I mean, that's the biggest thing is if you install a whole new scheme and concept, it's all that, first few weeks, it's, you're thinking as you play instead of, which we even saw with this defense. It kind of, the defense was very different from weeks 1 through 4 and beyond, because then they were playing freely. They knew it was in their brains. And so I think it is important. I would prefer them to stick with someone on staff, whether it's Coach Henderson or Aubrey Pleasant, who's the cornerback coach. I think is a great, he'll be a DC, I think, whether it's this year or next year, whether it's with the Rams or with the Chargers, he'll be a DC in this league because of what he's been able to do with those corners. And I just think that's important to keep those concepts the same, because whether they lose guys or not, it's all been installed and there's not that, rehabilitation, rethinking process. Joe Barry is another guy. I don't know if he'll be elevated on the Rams, just considering he was there last year and McVay still hired outside instead of elevating him at the time. But maybe he's shown enough, or maybe he elevates Joe Barry, linebacker coach.
You got to grow and you want to keep the same terminology. So again, it's all about opportunity for these guys. And like you said, I prefer them stay in-house and hire someone up, because the thing you don't want to do is, because you did put a great team together and you did go to the playoffs and, you got to the second round of the playoffs, and then people are going to start purging your team. Mm-hmm. They want a piece of it. And when you do that, if Coach Henny's gone, and then, like you said, Barry's gone, what do you start doing? Because people can pay them and, their contracts are void or where they're at, they can go on. So, you might as well make some other people comfortable.
Yeah, and this is nothing new for the Rams, who seem to get coaches poached every offseason. He had Zach Taylor, who became the head coach of the Bengals, and, they always have this offensive coordinators getting taken. So nothing new there. So it'll be, business as usual for McVay and who he finds next. And I think it should be on the staff. Jim Leonard is another guy, Wisconsin defensive coordinator that was highly touted last year. Ended up going with Staley. So maybe he's a name that they consider again, but hopefully they'll just stick within staff. I think that would be a better move for them.
Yeah, it'd be a great move. And I'm not sitting here saying going out and finding their guy is a bad thing. It'd just be great to hire from within, when you got a strong team, strong locker room.
Yeah. So, all right, let's transition over to the Chargers, because this is obviously a huge day for them as they find their next coach, third hire for Tom Telesco, goes right in his backyard, played in the same stadium. So Brandon Staley becomes the new head coach. Do you like the hire for the Chargers? I know we kind of it's funny because we're just meshing it all together. So we kind of touched on it, but just overall as a head coach, do you like the hire for the Chargers?
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, going into this is something that you've alluded to the last couple episodes we've had, that this guy should be on the marker. And I'm like, yeah, he has been coaching well. I didn't really see it. Obviously, there's other big names out there that, were catching our eye, but he's been top on your list, and obviously I value your opinion. So I'm like, let me check it out. And it makes total sense. And just because of the last time we were just talking a second ago, talking about it'd be great to hire from within for the Rams, we're on a Chargers side, it'd be great for him to bring some of those guys over there.
Yeah.
So it's going to make it, very interesting on who's cutting these checks. Because like you said, it's the comfortableness of not having to go far. If you're thinking about Coach Henney being an opportunity to get a new job, he was just there. He is familiar with those players.
Yeah.
It's not far detached from that. So again, this is an interesting situation. I think it's a great move by the Chargers, even though I was a Coach Lynn fan. We all know that. I've said it all year. But again, it made total sense. And when it makes total sense, no one can really be disgruntled.
Oh, totally. Yeah. And, great coach. And I know people worry about the resume, but when you just make strides like they did and you command a locker room, command a room, he was said when he interviewed at John Carroll, as soon as he went into the interview, like there was no need to even interview anyone else. He was that good, that dynamic, that smart, that they knew there. And obviously Sean McVay did the same when he hired him as DC, coming from just a linebacker coach. And now obviously the Chargers, after a second interview, didn't let him leave the building. So I'd be curious if Buffalo Bills had lost, if they would have gotten another interview with Brian Dable, if it made a change. I think those are their top two guys all along. But the writing's on the wall. Brandon Staley is the next head coach. I think it's a phenomenal hire. He played quarterback, so he does. I know there's concern about hiring a defensive guy when you have a guy like Justin Herbert and you wanted to continue his development. But he does have offensive experience by playing it. He coaches a defense from like an offensive mind, being reactive in that sense. So, I think it's great. And now it'll be really fun to watch him build this staff, and whether it is Coach Henderson, whether it is Aubrey Pleasant coming over, whether he takes Kevin O'Connell, who's the Rams OC, but doesn't call plays. So for him, even though it's a lateral move, he would come over and be the play caller for the Chargers. And so that's obviously an upgrade. That's what Matt LaFleur did by going OC to the Rams to OC to the Titans, and then became a head coach. So it'll be really interesting to see. And I think that one is kind of a no-brainer that Kevin O'Connell would come over, unless he retains either Pep Hamilton or Shane Steichen, who are still under contract for the Chargers. So a lot of moving parts, but it'll be really fun to watch.
I think Pep should stay.
I 100%. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I wouldn't move that. I think with Brian Staley coming over to be the head coach, I really do think he does need coaches that have a rapport with the team. And the offense moved. Obviously, we know what the quarterback can do. And with a full off season, going into a new year, new energy with the same direction, same terminology, I think it only gets better. I'd like to see a couple new pieces on the roster, but I think keeping Pep there helps the Chargers franchise.
Yeah, I think it's a no-brainer if they're able to. He'll probably get offers elsewhere as well to be an OC, just with how well he did developing Justin Herbert. But not only the keeping the continuity there, but I think having that experience, and I compare it to when Sean McVay was hired, he brought Wade Phillips on his staff as the guy that's been around the league, been there, done that, been a head coach. So, first-time head coach, you want someone to lean on because it's a whole different animal. Not saying that Staley couldn't just do it on his own, but having someone like Pep, who's been an OC multiple times, who was a GM and head coach in the XFL, so he has that experience that he can lean on to say, all right, I know I'm the head guy, but Pep, talk me through some of this. What's your rationale? What's your thinking? As opposed to just bringing all new guys. Like Kevin O'Connell's only been an OC for a couple seasons, so it makes sense that that would be a guy that would be a no-brainer if they're able to.
Yeah, sounds good.
So, but yeah, big hire. We have some stuff up on LAFB Network, articles pertaining to it, who they may be going for their staff, what the Rams can do to replace him. So go check that out. I'm excited for this offseason now. I know we still got 2 weeks of actual football left, but big offseason for both these teams. Huge because we should hopefully have fans in the stands. So the Chargers really need to hit this home run on these coaching hires so that they really have excitement, which I think they do. A lot of people are really excited about this hire. But if they can do stuff in free agency and continue to build through the draft, this Chargers team can go from a 7-win team to a playoff team just like that if they do things right.
Absolutely. They're in the Cups are doing something great. And we've seen that in the first, I would say, 7 games of the season last year that they were losing by a last second point or a last second touchdown, and they were in the games. Clean up some things, have a better offseason. I don't think they're far off, especially what they have at helm at quarterback. You have a lot of positivity going forward. We got to make sure the depth on the receivers is a little bit stronger. Your offensive line, your center, there's been injuries. Guys are aging. There's a lot in the offseason to take notice to. And I think by grabbing Brandon Staley as a first step, keeping Pep will be a second.
Yeah, 100%. So I have one final question for you, Frost, that I want to get your input on. But first, got to mention newest sponsor real quick, Kansas City Steaks. So with the new year comes tons of new big games in sports. With big games, you need big steaks. Kansas City Steaks has the cuts you crave and celebrate playoffs in the big game. Frost, you're a steak guy, right?
I'm a steak guy, steak and potato. Or is
There
it
you
potato?
go. As am I. So visit kansascitysteaks.com/game day and save up to $25 on combos perfect for game day. Plus, get free shipping with the code BELIEVE. That's BLEAV at checkout. You can try out the snack pack combo featuring small plates with big flavor, mini beef Wellington steak burger sliders. Sounds fantastic. Mac and cheese melts, shrimp wrapped bacon. Wow, it sounds fantastic. So again, go to Kansas City Steaks.
Tell me that website again.
Absolutely. Here we go. Again, go to kansascitysteaks.com/game day. Use the code BELIEVE, BLEAV at checkout for free shipping. I'm getting hungry. That sounds great.
Oh man, lunch is coming up.
Yeah. And what easier? You ordered right to your door. I mean, you don't even have to go out. So kansascity.com/game day. kansascitysteaks.com/game day. All right, Frost. So final question on this front. And I know some people had concern, and we've talked about this a few episodes ago. You kind of put it to rest, but I just want to reiterate it and you talk about it again. Chargers run a 4-3 defense, or they did run a 4-3 defense under Gus Bradley. Brandon Staley runs a 3-4 defense. He may change it to a 3-4. He may keep a 4-3. I mean, who's to say? I personally think he's just going to do whatever best is for these players. He doesn't even run base 3-4 that often. They run nickel and dime way more often than their 3-4. So I don't think it's that. But walk me through, being someone that you played in both systems, how important is that for him to implement or change it, and how much can that actually mess up some of these players?
Okay, well, it comes down to personnel. If Bosa's able to stand up and come off a rush, then his normal 3-point stance where he's, cropped down and getting off the line like a cheetah. There's a comfort level to certain guys. And when you're looking at your personnel, you look how big your D tackles are and things like that. Can they play a 4-eye? Can they go to contain without, and getting past a guard and a tackle and things like that? Can they move laterally? Because you start throwing in different blitzes and whatnot, that gets tricky. Can guys move? 4-3, your main person there is either your nose or your 3 technique. Obviously, across the line, you need rushers, but you got to look at someone that can beat a one-on-one at the 3 technique. But if you're running 3-4, usually those guys are in an odd position where they could be in 2 4-eyes or 3 tech. So it's all about your personnel and what you want, how fast guys are, and it's personnel.
Yeah. I mean, just on the surface, guy like Linval Joseph, I feel like would fit fine in 3-4 just with how mountain of a man he is. And so, we saw all year, Melvin Ingram and Uchenna Nwosu were more stand-up rushers, which is more prototypical of a 3-4. So I don't think people need to worry about a transition. If they move to 3-4 or keep the same, I think Staley's going to do fine, just putting the players in the best, scheming it correctly. But I know it's someone that a lot of people talk about. Oh, you're going to totally change up what they do.
Yeah, it's alignments. Coverages will stay the same. Blitz patterns stay the same. It's just alignments of guys. And even so, to say that, they can line up somewhere and end up shifting out of it per the team they're playing versus. So it's all relative. All guys across the board, I think, can play in it. It's just about 2-gapping things and things like that. I think a lot of people are getting away from 2-gapping just because when you're 2-gapping, you got guys that really can't move and get off the field. But, the way offenses are going, you got to get back there and get pressure on the quarterback. You can't just be a big slug in the middle with no knock them back, not getting 3 yards in the backfield, because quarterbacks nowadays, especially in their division, they let the ball go and they can run and they're agile and mobile. So you got to keep up with times. I don't think there are going to be any 2-gapping. I think Brandon will know exactly what to do with that defense.
Perfect. Yeah. I love that insight, because I think that its defense is going to be fun to watch. The players they already have in place. And we talked about some unfortunate free agents for the Rams. They probably won't even be able to re-sign we could see them sign with the Chargers. Leonard Floyd came off a career year. He would fit with it. I know Uchenna Nwosu will be back. Melvin Ingram, he's a free agent. I don't know if the Chargers will bring him back, but Leonard Floyd, Uchenna Nwosu alongside Joey Bosa, that's a fun pass rush.
The safety that you had that was on IR.
Yeah, you get Derwin James back. John Johnson is a free agent from the Rams. If you have a John Johnson, Derwin James pairing, that's a back end.
I mean, this is all working out in the Chargers' favor. On the Rams side, you're going to have to see a whole bunch of restructured contracts.
Yeah.
You just have to, and Goff has to be open to it. Even AD, all they do is move that money up front, spread it around, and then, that's what. If you're the franchise faces, you have to make moves like this to further the competition level. If not, you're going to be really upset. Well, you're making money, but on the backside of it, you're not going to have the most sought after guys wanting to land in LA and pay for minimum wage. Even it's a great living. It's all relative. It's a great living, but guys got to take care of family. They got they got real issues to tackle. So you're going to look out for themselves because those big free agents, they just came out of 4-year contracts, 5-year deals, and they want to get paid. You know what I mean? So if you don't have any money out there for them, it doesn't look good.
No. Talk me through that real quick, since you've been in contract negotiations and all that. Because I see I always laugh because it doesn't work like this. But I see fans like, oh, Goff should just take a pay cut. He didn't play well, just take a pay cut. Like, a player's not going to take a pay cut if they earned that money. They signed the contract. But there is absolutely ways they can restructure. How does that actually work? Like, walk us through a situation where Goff is owed $110 million guaranteed, but right now his cap hits like $35 million for next year. But how can they restructure? You don't have to necessarily talk about his contract, but how can you actually restructure things?
Yeah, I think the basis of the restructure is put more money up front, and on the back end it lowers the cap for years to come. This move works good in a lot of ways, obviously, because you can sign more guys, but at the end of the day, it still ends up being the same issue, and can really crumble your franchise. The way I look at it, you don't need a salary cap. I think these owners are billionaires and they should be able to pay as much as they can. You don't know how much coaches really make. Some of the stuff's hitting. So that's just what I would say to it. But restructuring is a great thing.
Yeah. I mean, Lesney is going to have his work cut out for him because right now they're $21 million over the cap. So I don't know what the Rams are going to be able to do, but he's worked magic before. So I'm sure that they've got a contingency plan. I'm sure I'm sure he thought about this when he was signing those deals. I know it didn't work out as well as they would have hoped, but another playoff win. So, but yeah, just alluding to how they can do stuff, but also some of those players may end up on the Chargers. It'll be interesting.
I mean, you may get a group of guys that want to team up with AD and they'll take a minimum deal. You never know, some people want to be in LA. They want to move their family there, and that's where they want to, if it all settles down, that's where they want to live. You never know how it could come about. It really comes down to how much people want to have that Ram logo on their helmet. Because if, you can't sign everyone for $20 million deals and this, that, and the other if there's no money to give them. So obviously you're going to restructure a couple guys, make sure there's a little money it's a little meat on the bone, but then how bad do people want to be a Ram? And that's the answer.
Yep. So it'll be a fun offseason to get to that. So, but let's jump into this interview with Osa Odighizuwa, great kid. So hope everyone enjoys that. Former UCLA Bruin, heading to the Senior Bowl combine, and will be in the NFL draft. So here's a conversation with Osa. All right, LA football fans, UCLA Bruins fans, extremely excited to talk to this young man. He's going to be a star in the NFL, played for UCLA, Osa Odighizuwa. My man, what's going on? How you doing?
I'm doing well, bro. It's good being on. How about yourself? How you doing?
I'm great, man. Can't complain. Another beautiful day in sunny California, and excited to talk with you about some ball, your college days, and what's next. So let me just start with this, man. I mean, crazy year for all players in any sport, for anybody in life. But obviously, what you guys went through in the Pac-12 and at UCLA was very unprecedented. The season didn't even start till almost Thanksgiving. What was just this season like? How were you guys able to stay focused and put together a good body workout there?
I feel like it just came down to all of us, our desire and just passion for the game. So I feel like just when we got back into camp, you could feel that, guys missed it. Like, wanted to play. You know, it's excitement, it's energy that I feel like was a little different from years before, and I feel like that's just because we were all faced with the reality that we are lucky to even be playing right now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Oh yeah.
So I feel like that just added a little bit of excitement to be back and joy just for the opportunity, and that was felt in the first in camp and throughout the season. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Was there almost like, I mean, not that you necessarily need this, but was there almost like extra motivation just with everything going on? Because you had a phenomenal season. I mean, 4 sacks. I believe that was your best, at least at UCLA. And so did it almost add more like I need to prove myself and we need to prove ourselves as a team because of all these circumstances that we deserve to be out here?
Yeah. And, you know, like, for me, it's just extra motivation because, one, like, over quarantine, I worked very hard. Like, I put in, like, a lot of work in the off season. So I wanted to put that on display, you know, and then just being able to have that opportunity, it was just surreal. You know what I mean? Like, it was literally went from being canceled and looking like we weren't going to play at all to just like that. In the blink of an eye, we're back on. So it was very exciting.
Yeah, it was crazy. Were you, before they even announced, were you on campus or were you back home or where were you kind of quarantining, if you will, training yourself?
I was on campus.
Okay.
We're not as a team still.
Was that weird to be on campus, like just you guys and, you know, because there was no other students, right, for classes? It was all online?
No, yeah, it was all online. Like there was like 700 people that came back to campus, but that was it. I didn't really see any of those people because we were in the university department. So, and we were working out. We had been working out as like a team in our groups of 10 for the whole summer. You know what I mean? Like going through all the protocols and the testing, and then like once we got into camp, it was daily. You know, so it was just, you know, like we're not gonna go through all this and not let our work be shown. You know,
Oh, for
not
sure.
empty-handed. So
That's cool, man. Well, you guys played well. I thought that defense looked great this year, and you yourself had a phenomenal season. So congrats on that. And just getting through it, I think, is impressive enough. I know obviously one game got canceled there, but enjoyed watching you guys and excited for your next step. So what are you up to now? Obviously, we got Senior Bowl coming up, NFL draft coming up. So just what's your routine like right now?
I'm training exos right now, so training a couple times a day, like 2-3 times a day. And I got the Senior Bowl, so I'm leaving for that on Friday. Just doing position work, a little film, just getting ready for that. Trying to stay in football mode. My last game was, I'll say like a little over a month ago, almost, or like just under a month. It was like the week before Christmas, so that's Saturday before Christmas. So just staying in shape, getting my body right. Just trying to go into that Senior Bowl feeling well. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure, man. No, it's tough to do during this time, but obviously you'll stay at it. And Senior Bowl is great, dude. I love it. It's a great event. Hopefully, going to be down there for it. So hopefully we'll see you down there. But you Demetric Felton's gonna be down there too, right? Your teammate.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So, is there any defensive linemen that you kind of think you model your game after, whether in the pros or in college? Is there a specific guy or a couple guys you try to mold moves after, and you watch their game and say, I want to be like that?
I would say I try and model my game after Aaron Donald. I wouldn't say that I have like his Aaron Donald speed, like that's a very fast man, but I'll just say like his activity, his motor, just he's moving and just being active, trying to be violent, you know what I mean? Just try and emulate that in my game.
That's
like
it.
When I watch him pass rush, he's always working a move. Even if that move doesn't work, it's just on to the next one. Just he chain rushes very well, and he's always very active with his hands and feet. So he's trying to do the same thing.
Yeah, it's a good one to model your game after. Not a bad one to try to emulate. So, is there, I don't even know. You don't even have to answer this if you don't want to, but it's just for the sake of having fun. Is there obviously any team you'd love to play for? But is there a team you're like, man, I really wish I could play for that team or that coach, or you just any opportunity you're cool with? Obviously, you are cool with, but if there's one, is there one?
Yeah. I mean, any opportunity I'm cool with, but
Of course.
just like the most full circle thing for me, like it would be dope to play at Seattle. I'm from Portland, Oregon. It's only like 3-4 hour drive away from my hometown, so it's like obviously one would be probably the most ideal, just because I stay in the Northwest, so I'd be on the West Coast, I'd be home. anybody that I wanted to come to a game, like it wouldn't be that hard to get them out there. So I feel like that would be really cool.
Totally. That's a good one. And, you know, Coach Carroll's a pretty good coach. So not a bad guy to play for. And you get to play with Russ and, you know, good organization there. So, well, man, it's been a crazy year and it's been fun to watch you play and super excited for your journey as you head to the NFL. I know you're going to be great. Is there have you heard anything? I don't know if your agents have talked to you at all, but have you heard a draft round kind of goal or area you might be taking, or you're just keeping head forward, just training and whatever happened, the chips fall where they fall?
Yeah, that's pretty much how it is right now. Like, just focusing on what's in front of me, and that's the Senior Bowl coming up, leaving for that on Friday. So just trying to maximize the opportunities that I have that are right in front of me. Everything else, none of that's guaranteed. Anything that I would hear until the actual my name being called is speculation, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I would rather just focus on what I have right here, just what's right in front of me. That's the Senior Bowl. And then on to the next thing, that's the combine, and just move on from there. You know what I mean?
Absolutely, for sure, man. And the Senior Bowl, you can definitely show out and show your skill set and improve that draft stock. Quickly before I let you go, love to know a little just more about you as a person. What are you into outside of football? What are some hobbies or things you're into?
You know, I like to lay down, don't like you know what I'm saying? Like at the end
Get
of
horizontal.
like at the end of the day, like when I'm done watching the film and all that stuff, like I'll just throw on like a little anime, low key, just
Okay.
because one, there's a lot of episodes, like you'll never run out of episodes, and two, they have really good storylines that I feel like always have some type of moral to it, you know?
Yeah, for sure.
And the fight scenes are always dope.
Is there a specific show or one that you follow or stay, or just anything? I'm not knowledgeable on the anime scene, so that's I don't really know how it works.
I'll say Bleach is my favorite one of all time, though.
Okay.
Just the concept of it is dope. Other than that, you know, just hanging out with friends, getting food. I'm a foodie. You know, I like to go try different things to eat.
What's your favorite food? What food type or any food?
I'm Nigerian, so that's like my favorite food just to eat is Nigerian food. There's a bunch of different things. It's always good. Even when you freeze it and heat it back up, it's one of those things that just tastes like it's fresh still. Like Nigerian food is, whew, I love that stuff, man.
So what is specific Nigerian food? I've had Ethiopian food, which is very, very good, very different. Is Nigerian food similar to that, or?
I wouldn't say it's similar. I would say like jollof rice, which is like a seasoned type of rice. There's like stew. There's
Okay.
which is kind of like a doughy ball that you would dip into stew. So I would say it's a lot of stews and some rice. You eat everything could either be eaten with rice or with that
Gotcha.
food.
But just highly seasoned.
Yes.
Do you eat it all? Do you eat it all with your hands?
No.
Okay, that's what threw me off when I eat Ethiopian food. We were at an Ethiopian wedding, and they eat with their hands. So I was like, you know, people scooping stuff with it. I was like, okay, it kind of threw me off, but that's how they did it.
I would say most of it is eaten with your hands. When I'm thinking, like when you asked that, I was thinking about rice, like you eat it with a spoon or a fork. But
yeah,
you gotta get in there with your hands. It's a good amount of stuff that you gotta get into.
Got to get into it.
So like just growing up eating stuff like that, I'll say to people in America, it might not look the best.
Mm-hmm.
But like being able just off that, being able to look past like the initial look of the food, and I guess presentation is important when you're eating, but like, you know, I can always just let me see how this tastes. Like this doesn't look great, and then it made me pretty open to trying different things.
For sure. Yeah, I'll have to give it a shot. I like anything and everything. So is there any Nigerian spots out here in LA do you frequent, or is it more home cooked?
It's more home cooked. Like I got some teammates on I had some teammates on UCLA that were Nigerian as well, so their parents would bring some stuff whenever they had games that they could go to. They always bring a bunch of coolers worth of food, and
there you go.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's awesome, man. Do you cook it yourself too, or?
I do not know how to cook Nigerian. I know how to cook, just not Nigerian food.
Well, you live in a dorm for 4 years. There's not much you can do to cook in there. So now you can learn a little bit, right? Get your own spot.
Exactly. I can I can experiment a little bit, have my mom teach me when I go back home. But I would say the Nigerian place that I've been to out in LA is called Veronica's Kitchen. It's really good.
Okay. Monica's Kitchen. I'll check it out once. Hopefully it's open again, everything going on, or takeout. Maybe we'll get takeout. Well, bro, man, I appreciate you taking some time. I know you're super busy and training, and I said it before, but I honestly really enjoy watching you this season. I think you had a great year. Every game, every week was like, man, you were just in the backfield. You were killing stuff. So I think you're gonna have a phenomenal football career. Hopefully we can link up again, when you're big time. Don't forget about us out there on the NFL stadium. And thanks for taking time though, bro.
Yeah, appreciate you having me.
Yeah, man. Stay healthy and have a great Senior Bowl.
Thank you. You have a good one.
All right, big shout out to Osa. Loved having him on. Great kid. Frost, you alluded to him beginning of the show. He's got some good skills, good talent, had a great season, and bright future in the NFL.
Yeah, and once you go over that interview, you understand he has a very bright future. His intangibles are out there. Size, strength. He has a knack for getting behind the line of scrimmage. You can knock him back. Obviously we're showing clips right now. You can really see just how dangerous this man can be. And pair him with the right situation and the right person right next to him, a leader or someone else, a strong force that can motivate him to, have a couple more tackles for losses and to get actually mean, because he just looks like a big jolly guy. Maybe put a little Tabasco sauce in his cereal every morning and get him going. I think this guy's he can be really dangerous. And the best part about this is watching two UCLA Bruins get in the Senior Bowl. And again, that's revitalizing LA football. I think things are turning around and they're getting some good players. And they had a good recruiting class. So yeah. So hats off to those guys for working their ass off. Osa, good luck. I wish I could have done that interview, but I'm sure we're going to get you again. Hopefully, while you're at the Senior Bowl, we'll be able to tap in and talk and see what's going on down there in Mobile.
Yeah, absolutely. So great kid. Best of luck. Hopefully he can become the second coming of the Nigerian nightmare. He is Nigerian, one of the next great Nigerian football players. So we'll keep you posted on that. All right, Frost. Well, I think that wraps it up. I mean, big show. Rams unfortunately exited the playoffs, but another great year, exceeded expectations, won a playoff game in a dominating fashion over their division rival. And then Chargers get their head coach, Brandon Staley, for the next chapter in Los Angeles Charger football. So a lot of exciting things on the horizon. I know the season is technically done for LA, but the season never ends. We got free agency in the draft, a lot of stuff going on.
We got new sponsors for you guys. We're coming with it. This offseason is going to be a great one. We're going to tackle a lot of these issues. What's moving and shuffling around LA football. Come to us. We got you covered.
Yeah, a lot of good guests already lined up. It's going to be a lot of fun, Frost. So excited to keep the journey going with you, man. So great show. Where can everyone find you at?
You can find me at The Organic Frost on Instagram, Twitter, and Frostee Rucker on Facebook.
There you go. I am Ryan Dyrud, LAFB. We are in a new chat app as well. If you want to check that out, it's called Thready. You can download it in the Apple Store. Join the LAFB network. Chat, just fun to talk football. We don't have game days necessarily, but we'll have a lot of stuff to talk about. Our articles we'll post there as well. So check that out. But thank you all for tuning in. Subscribe to the show. Like I said, wherever you listen, we are everywhere you listen. Video platform on YouTube, Facebook, and Instagram, all at LAFB Network. This is the LA Football Podcast. Happy MLK Day. Have a great week.